My rail fanning trip on November 25th started like any other. I saw CSX I-135 go through Delster with CSX 1827, the B&O Heritage Unit, in the lead. Obviously, I was going to try and catch this since I was on Thanksgiving break. So 3 hours after it passed, and in the complete darkness, but remember, I have bright Bentley now, so that's not an issue, I made my way to Walkerton. And after not very long, we saw a westbound coming. Awesome! We timed this perfectly. However, there was an eastbound also coming. We were absolutely terrified because we thought that the eastbound would come in first and block 1827. Thankfully, it didn't. And the westbound, well, it wasn't 1827. It was CSX B480, a sand train. And although it wasn't what I was looking for, it did have an awesome CPKC power set with a KCSM GEVO and CP AC44. And as you can imagine, it didn't take long for the eastbound to show up, which was auto-racked with a single CSX AC44 leading. A nice unrebuilt one, but unfortunately an ugly YN3B. And after that, I was presented with the exact same predicament again. An eastbound light showed up just as a westbound one was. We knew this westbound was going to be 1827. However, the manifest was really close, so we thought it'll clear before 1827, right? Either way, the manifest turned out to actually be amazing. Better than 1827, in fact, because behind the two regular CSX units, second one being a Mack, which was nice, there was a BUGX SW1500 butthead. It has been my dream to see one of these things being carried in tow on the main line, and I cannot believe it actually happened. Now, for the non-megafoamer nerds among you, let me explain what this thing is. This is a BUGX EMD SW1500 butthead, as I said, which was built for the Southern Railway as their number 2345, although it carried Central of Georgia reporting marks. Later, after the merger, it was acquired by Norfolk Southern, and eventually was sold off to a random railroad that I don't know, which repainted it into its current blue livery. After that, it was sold to PREX Leasing, and after a while serving under them and working on the Kennecook Junction Railway, it was sold to BUGX this year, so a recent acquisition for them. Who knows where it's going or if it'll ever see service again, but let's hope it does. But if it doesn't, I'm glad I got to see it while it was still in one piece. Either way, after I stopped losing my former mind over that tiny little blue boy, there was one thing that I was very much thinking about. Yeah, when's the end of this train gonna get here? Well, the answer to that question is too late. Because as I'm sure you know if you saw my community post, 1827 got blocked. Normally I'd be crying and complaining and putting memes and Hall the Mountain King here and all the things I normally do. But you know what? I don't even care. After the BUGX switcher, which was way rarer, I'm honestly glad I stayed on this side of the tracks and didn't move to the other side, because then I would have gotten a worse out of the BUGX switcher. So you know what? It's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. I'll catch you another day, 1827. Now, other than the train, something you might have noticed in those last clips was the ice rain, or hail, or light snow, or whatever you want to call it. It wasn't very pleasant at the time, but the weather was still okay temperature-wise, and it wasn't horrible. No. That was reserved for the next day, November 26th. And I was not planning to go out this day, but a CSX-YN2 duo had to show up on Norfolk Southern trackage, so I had to catch it. I headed to the depot and immediately regretted all of my life decisions because there was freezing wind going 60 miles per hour and tiny ice chunks being blown directly through my coat and into my skin. Awesome. Bet you didn't need that in your rail fanning video. Yeah, it was literally painful. Worst rail fanning experience of my life. Anyways, the first train we saw was Norfolk Southern 277 going the wrong way. The YN2s were eastbound with NS 1064. Man, if only it was one number higher. After that train passed, we thankfully saw a green signal for an eastbound, which, only took 30 minutes to show up. That's not too bad, except ignoring the fact that me and Northwest Indiana Railfan, who had showed up to catch the YN2s, had to stand in the freezing rain, hail, if you want to count it as hail, and awful winds, which were so bad that there was a wind advisory across the entirety of northern Indiana for another half hour waiting for the train. Which wasn't even the YN2s, it was B09. Are you kidding me? After that, we were rather disappointed, and so we checked the Cheston cam to see if the YN2s had come by before or after B09. They had come by before, so we figured, they're long gone. It sucks that we stayed out here for so long and missed them, but, we're not going to stay out here for longer when they're not coming. Turns out they had stopped in LaPorte siding and departed like 30 minutes later, and we totally could have caught them if I had known. And you know that LaPorte Railfan caught them because of course he does. He catches everything. After those two failed trips, I sadly had to wait until the following Monday, December 1st, to get my redemption, thanks to the not very helpful snow, which came way too early this year and completely kept me inside for the entire second half of Thanksgiving break. Thanks, weather! It's almost like this entire video is about weather screwing me over. Anyways, since I was just constantly missing the power I wanted to see, I decided it would be worth it to go out for just some random trains, so that way there's no way I can miss my target, because there is no target. And I just want some snow shots in the snow. So we headed out to the depot, and very soon after we got there, an S28X showed up with some Gevos. Great. Oh, ow, oh. Oh, I was so uncomfortable for that whole shot. Oh. I'm leaving this in. Oh. After that, we waited, and waited, and waited, and waited, and you get the point, until it was very nearly almost dark before the headlights of Ennis showed up, with the exact same cons as the last train, but bean sniffers. Two H3 GEVOs. Yeah, it was boring. The atmosphere of this shot was 110% awesome, though. The blue hour lighting, the snowfall, and the headlights illuminating said snowfall made this awesome, not to mention the back-to-back engine consist. Absolutely one of my favorite recent shots, and you can see why I used it for the thumbnail. With all that said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay warm in these freezing temperatures, and I'll see you in the next video. Catch those units while you can, especially the BUGX switchers, and I will see you next time.